Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here, once again to review another Goosebumps book. I decided to just get these Monster Bloods over with, reviewing them that is, because, we've been doing a lot of work lately with the channel, and I just thought it'd be nice to take a couple of days of a break type of thing where I just have to do these little reviews. And they are good reviews, though. These books, a lot of them, I love to have discussions about them, and I'd love to see what other people think. And there's just so many things to talk about. Like, all of them have all this mythology that they create and all these new characters and so much stuff to talk about that I feel like with Goosebumps especially, the only things people really talk about are the episodes. And the episodes are good, but sometimes you just want to talk about the original stuff, and with the Monster Blood series especially, it's a very weird series, and it's actually aged pretty well because people used to say, why is R.L. Stine so obsessed with Monster Blood? Why does he keep on writing Monster Blood sequels? Why? Well, now he has written, 30 Slappy books? So, if anything, I'm getting sick of Slappy. Just Slappy, 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 Slappy. Slappy is the only thing on the 30th anniversary book cover, which really sucks. Slappy is not the only... Slappy is not the only thing related to Goosebumps. He is not Goosebumps as a whole. There are so many people and ideas and things that make up Goosebumps. It's not just about Slappy. Okay? Anyways, I am here to review Monster Blood 3, which this is my least favorite book of the series, for sure. My ranking, I'll reveal my ranking in the fourth one's review on Wednesday, I believe it'll be on. But yeah, I really did not like this book that much, but I would read it again, I guess. It wasn't that terrible, but it was still pretty bad. Oh wait, yeah, it was really bad. I gotta remember all these different books, and I read them last summer. So I'm trying to jog my memory, and here's the thing about this sequel. This sequel introduces probably the worst character in the series. He might be one of the worst characters in Goosebumps in general, and that is Kermit, the cousin, Evan's cousin. And Kermit is this irritating nerd. And Evan and Andy, they gotta babysit him. And Kermit is a troublemaker. He's like a Revenge of the Nerds type of kid. And he's making all these formulas that go terribly wrong. And they cause messes to be cleaned up. And they get everyone into trouble. And it's just a disaster whenever Kermit is around. And he's a little jackass, too. He's a little shithead, like Tara, kinda. But at least he's not as evil as Tara. No one is as evil as Tara. And then you got, of course, the usual players. You got Evan, and Evan is another problem with the series. Because although I like the series, Evan, over this book and the next book, he gets a little dumb. Because it just gets to the point where it's like, okay, why are you talking about about Monster Blood anymore? Why are you even going near Monster Blood anymore? Why is Andy fooling around with Monster Blood? Why? Why? You guys don't learn. It's like these characters, they just do not learn. They don't care, and they're stupid, and it pisses me off. Because this story, I thought that this would be really good. I love the cover. I've always loved that cool cover as a kid, seeing those giant tennis shoes running in the playground, and it's such a beautiful, colorful cover. But then you actually read the book, and it's like this really boring, dull book where monster blood's hardly even in it. I mean, this book is probably the one with the least amount of monster blood action the whole series. And it just kind of felt like R.L. Stine didn't know what to do. He kind of just decided, okay, let's do a monster blood book. And he really just kind of fooled around for the whole book. And then at the end, he kind of throws in monster blood in this stupid thing where Evan accidentally swallows the monster blood. And by the way, they introduce Conan again, the bully, and they introduce him like he's never existed before, which is irritating also. And they do the same thing in part 4. And Conan is screwing things up, and it's just this really boring book about these boring kids and goofing off and messing around with all these formulas and like a shrinking formula. It's just really boring. It's really goofy too. Like there's all these puns, and then the parents come home, they get mad. They say that Evan's a bad babysitter, and it's like, who cares? Like, I want to see some monster blood action. I don't care about this crap. So then they're playing or something, and Evan swallows monster blood, which I don't know why. That's another thing, is they kind of ignore the continuity because they act like Evan has never swallowed monster blood before. And as you guys know, if you read part 2, he swallows monster blood in part 2 so that he can grow big and fight his hamster, Cuddles. And that's another thing, is that Cuddles isn't even in this book. Remember that cool thing at the end of part 2 of Monster Blood where the evil teacher gives Cuddles to Evan as a gift? Well, he just kind of ignores that, and that's something else that bothered me about, well, I think it bothers me in general about R.L. Stine's sequels, is that he kind of doesn't care about continuity at all. He doesn't really care at all about continuity, about, sticking to whatever story that he wants to stick to, so if he made a Cuckoo Clock of Doom Part 2, I wouldn't be surprised if Tara was already back. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I have a problem with that. Continuity is one of the few things that, like, really, that is something I deeply care about, and something that, like, I am upset about. Regardless of if I do a review of something, continuity really matters to me. And that's why I hate those Halloween sequels so much, because they fuck up the continuity again. I hate that. I despise when they screw up continuity. And so in this Monster Blood 3, you have Evan drinking the monster blood, or he swallows it somehow, and he grows big. And then there's this kind of boring little thing where he runs around the neighborhood, and he F's around with Kermit a little bit, but then he has this really weird, like, BLM type of encounter with the police, where all these police officers surround him and they want to shoot him and kill him because he's giant, and he has to run away, and it's really, really weird. And so then Kermit uses one of his stupid formulas that he's had the whole book. He had this one formula that shrunk clothing, and so he thought maybe that will shrink Evan back down again. But what's really weird is that we already know from part 2 that monster blood has an expiration date. So we already know that Evan should shrink down himself. He doesn't need a formula to shrink down. But Kermit gives him it anyway, and I think that's what cures him. That's what makes him go back to normal. And as I've said, continuity, he does not care about it. And so guess what? Guess what? The police who were chasing after Evan, they just all of a sudden don't care anymore about this kid, this giant 100-foot tall kid. They don't care anymore about him running around rampant. They don't care. So there's never any follow-up with the police or anything. And then the book ends with another stupid twist. I can't even remember at this point, because to be honest, like with these twists that R.L. Stine writes, what I'm always wondering is like, what's the point of them? Like, they're not fun, they're not funny, they don't add anything to the books. They're just kind of like, ugh, they're just kind of there. Like, they don't add anything. This book is definitely my least favorite of the series because of the continuity issues in general, and because it's just kind of a boring, silly, goofy book. I really did not like how goofy and light this was. I thought that it was sort of like a waste of time, too, because another thing is that this kind of felt like it took place before part 2, even though it doesn't. And then you have Andy, and the whole relationship with him and Andy is kind of ruined because it just doesn't go anywhere, and it's just kind of weird at this point that Andy, all she does is basically hang around him and tell him to use the monster blood on someone. And in this book, she's like, use the monster blood to prank Kermit, the scientist kid. And it's like, yeah, that's not a good idea. I give this book an F+, because I could still read it again. It is slightly enjoyable, but I really did not like it. I did not like the plot. I did not like the goofiness, and I did not like, I mean, this is a great concept. It was actually surprising and shocking to me in the second book when Evan takes the monster blood. It might be like one of my favorite moments in Goosebumps history, because I didn't know what happened in that book beforehand. So I read that book, and I remember just being so like thrilled at seeing Evan take the monster blood to fight Cuddles, and I thought, this is cool. This is like a Godzilla versus King Kong type of thing. And then it all gets ruined immediately because we have this book and they act like it never happened. And then when he turns big in this book, all he does is like run around a neighborhood. Like, when I saw that cover as a kid, I expected him to go into town, destroy buildings, kill people, like anything, like just anything exciting. But he didn't do anything exciting at all. I mean, here's another thing. Like, he could have gone to his aunt's house from the first one to try to get a cure, and it would have caused them, like, all to go back to his aunt's house. That would have been pretty cool. So he could have, like, trekked across America like a Forrest Gump, like a giant kid just walking across America to get to his aunt's house to get a cure. Like, I don't know, like just something interesting. And something else that's weird is that we don't really know much about the monster blood at all, because everything that they set up and talked about with the monster blood in the second book, everything is subverted in this book. Why did they sell monster blood in stores? Why does monster blood have an expiration date, but then it doesn't have an expiration date? It's just so many things that you could ask about this monster blood. Where did it come from? Who invented it? So many questions that need answering, rather than telling this stupid, goofy story about Kermit the Science Whiz kid. I mean, ugh, what a stupid, goofy story. So anyways, please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of Monster Blood 3. I still kind of enjoyed it. It's not that terrible. I hated other books much worse than this. Like, this is not a book that I really disliked. I just didn't like it in comparison to the others. Like the fourth one we'll get to. The fourth one is not bad at all. The second one is okay. The first one is really good. And so this is the one that sticks out like a sore thumb, which is weird because this had the best concept to me. I was the most excited about reading part 3 and seeing Evan grow up to be a giant person. So, please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see my review of Monster Blood Part 4 and other Goosebumps books reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.